Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and these are the all-new iPhone 17 Pro and iPhone 17 Pro Max. I thought we'd unbox them, set them up, and see what they have to offer as far as what's new. Now the base iPhone 17 Pro starts at $1,099, and then with the 17 Pro Max you can go all the way up to $1,999. Both of them offer a base amount of storage at 256 gigabytes. The 17 Pro has a 512 gigabyte or 1 terabyte option, but in addition to that, with the 17 Pro Max, you can go up to 2 terabytes, so it just depends on which option you choose. Now there's 3 color options this year. We have a deep blue, a cosmic orange, and we also have a silver, which I have here as well. So I thought we'd unbox these, so let's go ahead and take a look. So we'll start with the 17 Pro here. We'll flip it over. You'll see this version here in particular is the deep blue with 256 gigs of storage. So let's go ahead and pull the bottom pull tab off. Then the top. Let's do the same on the orange or cosmic orange here. This is actually the 512 gigabyte model. And let's go ahead and open these up. So there is the new deep blue. Let's see if we can get this to release here. There we go. And here's the cosmic orange. Now, a lot of people aren't crazy about these colors. I actually quite like them, but if you wanted something a little bit less subtle, this is actually the 1 terabyte model of the 17 Pro Max, and I'm planning to use it as a video camera, maybe as my main camera. We'll have to see how they do this here. So let's open it up and see what it looks like here. And you can see them all side by side. So this gives you an idea of what they look like. I just wanted to share that, as many people haven't seen them in person, and this should hopefully be as color accurate as possible. Now, if we remove this here, all of these should be about the same. Basically, we get a USB-C cable. So if we move these out of the way here, you'll see in the box here, we have a USB-C cable, and you'll see them in here. We have the ends, USB-C to USB-C, and then some paperwork. So if we grab this, let's go ahead and slide this out or open it up here. And you'll see all we've got is you no longer need a physical SIM card. And then before using your iPhone, review the iPhone user guide. So not even a little start guide this time around. No charger, of course. We haven't had that for a few years, but we do have the USB-C cable. Let me put the covers on the boxes and let's go ahead and take a closer look. So here is the silver model. You can see what it looks like. It has this sort of white cutout area here. Let's remove the front cover here. Then we'll move on to the deep blue color. Then the cosmic orange. And so to see these all side by side, let me go ahead and place them like this so we don't scratch them. You can see what they look like. So that gives you an idea of what all of them look like. I quite like all the colors this year. I know many people were disappointed there wasn't a black color, but I think the blue or silver would be great. If you want something more discreet, you go with silver. If you like something a little bit more flashy, maybe cosmic orange. Now, if we take a look around the outside edge, you can see that this is an all aluminum enclosure this year. So in order to really focus on removing heat from the device and helping with thermals, you'll see it's an aluminum unibody. So on the right-hand side, we have our power sleep wake button, of course, camera control here. On the bottom, things haven't changed very much. So we have our USB-C port along with speakers and microphone. On the left-hand side, of course, we have our volume buttons as well as the action button. And then on the top, we have our millimeter wave antenna. Now, in some countries, of course, you'll have a SIM card tray and you may not have the millimeter wave antenna as well. We have an all-new camera design on the outside. You can see here, so up close, this is sort of a camera or an antenna design that goes around the camera, and it should help with overall signal and connectivity. So hopefully that helps tremendously this time around. That's something I'm looking forward to. We also have Ceramic Shield 2 on the front, so you can see this is a new ceramic shield that should be more durable and should be anti-reflective. So compared to maybe the iPhone 16 Pro Max, I have that here. If we bring that in and maybe compare it side by side, you can see the reflectivity. It's definitely reduced, but it's not as dramatic as maybe the S25 Ultra. So definitely an improvement, but you can see that it's not as noticeable. See my face here in the reflection. You can see it definitely helps a little bit at least. Now, if we compare the phone side by side with the 16 Pro Max, it's actually a little bit thicker this time. So the 17 Pro Max is 0.34 inches or 8.75 millimeter, where the 16 Pro Max is 0.32 inches or 8.25 millimeters. It's also slightly heavier at 233 grams or 8.22 ounces compared to 227 grams or 7.99 ounces. So the same is true with the Pro as well, but they're definitely a little bit bigger, and that helps with a larger battery and hopefully some heat dissipation as well. This cutout on the back is definitely unique here, so some people didn't believe it would have it. I actually think it looks pretty good to offset the device, and it's also a matte texture compared to maybe what we have on the aluminum or aluminium. I think it looks pretty good. To bring the deep blue up close, you'll see side by side just so you can get an idea of what it looks like side by side with the 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max. And then on the top here, you'll see what that looks like. Again, on the side here, and then on the bottom. So again, side by side. So these rounded corners actually feel quite nice when you're holding on to it. So if you hold it in your hand here, you don't have sharp edges like you do on the titanium frame of the 16 Pro Max. It definitely is a different experience to hold. Again, with the silver, this is more of a white cutout that we have here. So it's a little bit different in the way it looks. So maybe this would go better with that clear case that has the white insert, but this gives you an idea of what it looks like with the silver color. And you can see on the back also, it's integrated with this antenna and then the aluminum frame. It's sort of a little bit different than I had expected. Now, of course, before we get this set up, we'll want to protect this, and to protect the new iPhone 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max, today's sponsor, ESR, offers the ultimate protection for your new iPhone. The ESR CyberTough case has a 3-layer design to keep your iPhone safe up to a 23-foot drop. It has a 1.2 millimeter raised edge to keep your display safe. It has dual-layer camera protection with a full coverage camera bar and zinc alloy camera guard. The camera guard also is a versatile stand that's adjustable from 15 degrees to 69 degrees and works in both portrait and landscape. Even with its 3 layers of protection, it still works with MagSafe, and its magnets are 2 times stronger than most cases at 1500 G. To keep your display safe from scratches, ESR also has the Armorite Pro Edition screen protector. The UltraFit tray ensures effortless alignment and a quick 2-step application, delivering a dust-free and bubble-free flawless screen protection. Made with accessory glass from Corning, which is the same supplier as Apple's cover glass, the screen protector has up to 2 times the scratch resistance of traditional screen protectors and has 10 times the impact absorption of generic screen protectors. It's also super clear and has an anti-reflective coating that reduces reflections by 50%, but also preserves the true colors of the screen with 94% optical transmittance. To protect your iPhone, be sure to check out the link to ESR in the description below. Now let's go ahead and get these set up. So we'll boot these up. Give it a second. There we go. We have the Apple logo here. Let's get them booted up so that we can set them up. Before we set them up, the iPhone 17 Pro has a 6.3-inch display at 2622 by 1206 with 460 pixels per inch. It has 3000 nits of brightness and has that new anti-reflective coating. The 17 Pro Max is a 6.9-inch display, 2868 by 1320 with 460 pixels per inch, also 3000 nits and also an anti-reflective display. Now let's go ahead and set these up so we can take a look at options and things afterward. So we'll set up the 17 Pro Max here. I'll set them up side by side, but you'll see here, safety and handling, United States. We can select appearance, default, medium, or large. We'll just select default for now and tap continue. Then we'll quickly set it up with my iPhone that's nearby. So we'll give it a second here, and then we'll align the camera. There we go. It will get things ready, and we'll just place it here so that it can connect and get everything set up. You'll select who you're setting it up for, so myself, and then we'll put in the passcode from our iPhone. Now immediately we have a software update. Let's go ahead and update later. We can do that after. We're both on iOS 26. Then we can tap continue for data and privacy. Then we'll set up Face ID. So we'll tap continue and get started here. Position my face here. There we are. And it says first scan complete. Then we can set it up with a mask or don't use a mask. And now it says Face ID is now set up. We'll tap continue, and then we can download from iCloud, we can transfer from the iPhone, or we can just set it up as new. So I'll do that just to get right to the home screen here quickly, and we'll give it a second. But it says signing in, and now we'll agree to the terms and conditions. Now you'll see it says transfer your apps and data from an iCloud backup, from Mac or PC, or don't transfer anything. I'll come back and do this a little bit later, get everything set up. I'm not sure which color to use yet, whether I want silver or maybe the new cosmic orange. I kind of like the orange, but I'm not sure yet. So we'll wait for it here. You'll see it in the upper right. Now on the other device, it says device added to your account. We'll tap OK. And now you'll see it says make this your new phone. So we can not transfer anything and then bring over our settings in our wallet, or we can customize that. So we'll tap continue. We can set up location services. I typically use those for things such as maps and Find My. You can also transfer your eSIM. I won't do that this time. I'll do that in a separate video when I'm setting up the phone. But you'll see here it's adding your card, and you can agree to the terms and conditions. Now on the other phone, it actually says enjoy your new phone. So we can tap what's next and erase the phone, or just hit done. Now it says Apple Intelligence. We can set up Apple Intelligence to use that, summarize notifications, and then you can choose to summarize news, communications, social, and all other apps. You don't have to do any of that. And also there's priority notifications. So we'll turn that on. And now it shows how to use camera control. We'll tap continue here. It's showing using visual intelligence. And now we can set up Siri. So we'll tap continue, and then it shows that you can speak to it. Now it says Apple Beta Software Program. We can continue or don't continue. We won't on this device. And now it's telling us about emergency SOS on the phone with crash detection and more. We'll tap continue. And now it says welcome. Now we're on the home screen. So this is the default home screen. Let me go ahead and get the other one set up, and then we'll take a look at what's new. This is the default setup for the home screen, so I didn't transfer anything, and you can see all of the apps in light mode here, and this is what it will look like if you don't transfer anything over. Now with this update, of course, we get things such as camera updates. First, we'll talk about the rear cameras, the front camera, and then we'll take a look at a new option for PWM, something I've been looking forward to. But you'll see on the back, we have 3 cameras in the new camera plateau, as they're calling it. We have 3 48 megapixel cameras. We have a regular wide, an ultra wide, and now a new telephoto zoom lens at 48 megapixels with a 4 times and 8 times optical zoom, but it uses a sensor crop for that 8 times zoom. We also have LiDAR. It looks like a microphone, as well as our flash. It now supports ProRAW video. It still records up to 4K 120 and has Genlock support. The big change, though, is the forward-facing camera, as we now have an 18 megapixel center stage camera with a square sensor. It has center stage for photos and video calls, as well as dual capture and ultra stabilized video. So if we go into the camera here, you'll see it says new design, photographic styles. We'll choose later, and you'll see that we have, if we turn this around, a new camera sensor. Now what we have is we can rotate this because we've got a square sensor. We can turn off center stage. Now we have portrait. Now we have landscape. We can also change the blur in the background, such as portrait mode here. We can turn that on. And then of course we have some options in the upper right. So we have our typical options with aspect ratio. You can change it to 16:9. You've got 1:1 or 4:3. Styles, night mode, and everything else are still here. And then of course with video modes, you have HD, you have HDR, and everything else. So you can turn that off if you don't want HDR. So let me go ahead and switch it to 4K. See if we can turn off HDR here. We'll go into our camera settings. We'll go into record video. We want this set at 4K 60 typically for me, with HDR video off, and then we can change that later. So this gives you an idea of what it looks like. And then of course we have options here for dual capture. Now we're capturing from the front-facing video and the rear at the same time. So you can do that if maybe you want to comment on something you're looking at, and we can move the window around as well. So this is something that's all new. Now also, let's back this up here so we can maybe take a few photos of it. I'll move the keyboard that's back there out of the way, and we'll take a photo so you can take a look. So here's 1x, 2x, 4x, and then 8x. So just zoomed in, and then it gives you a little bit of help here to sort of center where it is. So some nice options there. Of course, the forward-facing camera is the big thing, and if we switch to video, it should be an improvement here. So if I want maybe 16:9 wide video. Let's go ahead and check this out. I don't have to hold the phone sideways anymore. Now we're recording from the front-facing camera of the iPhone 17 Pro Max. So we're using the forward-facing camera, but I'm in portrait mode. So this gives you an idea of what it looks like, and you can't do this on the 16 Pro Max, but the video quality should be fairly similar. So we'll compare that maybe in a future video, but this gives you an idea of what it actually looks like and what it can do. So we'll stop that. We'll test that in the future, though, with more sort of tests and things outside, low light and more, but that gives you an idea that you can do that. Again, back in the camera under video, of course, we have a couple different options here, and because it defaulted to my settings before, we have enhanced stabilization, but if we go back up here, maybe we'll go into our indicators here, we can turn on action mode, and now we have the option for very stabilized video. So let's see if we spin this around. We have our action mode options up here, and now we should have super stabilized video. So that's a great option to have as well. Of course, our dual capture there also, so you can see those options. Now, one option I've wanted to try for a long time that we've heard about is a new PWM option. This is the way the phone controls brightness. This is something that's bothered me from the iPhone 10 days. When I first brought it up, I noticed that the iPhone 10's display was bothering my eyes. So since the iPhone 10 and 10s, they bothered my eyes so much that I actually ended up switching to the 8 Plus because it really was just causing me nausea, causing eye strain and headaches. What I found is that the display or OLED displays flicker faster and slower depending on their brightness level to show you that brightness level. And some people can sort of perceive that without actually seeing it, and it really bothers them. About 1 in 10 people. Apple has finally acknowledged this. I've been bringing it up for years, and I'm sure my concerns and many others have been heard, and they've finally given us options for this. So under accessibility, if we go down to display and text size, scroll down a little bit further, you'll see display pulse smoothing. It says disables pulse width modulation to provide a different way to dim the OLED display, which can create a smoother display output at low brightness levels. Disabling PWM may affect low brightness display performance under certain conditions. If I turn that on, we shouldn't have PWM and it shouldn't bother our eyes. This will take further testing to see if they've actually turned it off, but at lower brightnesses, it shouldn't bother your eyes at all and should definitely be noticeable. And this is across all iPhone 17s this year. So if you want the base model, we'll check that out in a different video, or the iPhone Air, you'll have that as well. So that's great to see them include that. Now, of course, one of the biggest things this year is battery. Battery has been updated, and also let me turn on PWM on this since I'll definitely be using it either way. So we'll go back in. We'll go into accessibility, display and brightness on the Pro, and turn that on. Let's also change a couple other settings that I don't typically use here since I set them up without carrying anything over. I always turn off True Tone, and there we go. So now we have color accuracy as well. Battery life is always a big concern, and with this generation, we have some updates here. With the iPhone 17 Pro, we have a 4,252 milliamp hour battery. It's good for 33 hours of video playback, according to Apple, compared to 27 hours in the 16 Pro. The iPhone 17 Pro Max has the largest battery Apple's ever put in a phone at 5,088 milliamp hours, or 39 hours of video playback compared to 33 in the 16 Pro Max. One thing to note, though, is if you have a SIM card model where you have a physical SIM card, the batteries are slightly smaller and result in about a 2-hour loss of battery life. So instead of 39 hours, you would have 37 or so. We also have some charging updates this year to go along with those new batteries. 50% in 20 minutes with a 40-watt adapter or higher via USB-C, or if we're using MagSafe's latest charger with a Qi 2.2 or Qi 2 25-watt charger, it supports 50% in 30 minutes. So again, place it on the back, align it, which is a little bit different this year, and again, 50% in 30 minutes. So you can charge wirelessly, but you will need 30 watt or higher for the wireless charging on the MagSafe adapter. Of course, internally, we have some new chips that are much faster, an A19 Pro. So I thought we'd test that out, see what the heat is like, and we also have 12 gigs of RAM this time around. We have a new vapor chamber that's laser welded to the chassis to help with overall cooling and dissipation, and so it should help greatly with heat. So what I thought we'd do is I'll install Geekbench, run it on this, run it on the 16 Pro Max at the same time. Now this phone is quite warm as it's setting up a lot in the background, but let's go ahead and test it out. This one is not warm at all, so let me go ahead and install this. We'll let them cool down, and then we'll see how the heat dissipates. While we're waiting for the phone to cool and install the apps, one thing I almost forgot to mention is the day one update. This was to fix some artifacting or some issues with the camera initially that was supposedly very rare and occurred in specific situations. But there is a day one update, so make sure you update that. We'll check that in a moment. And as far as the build number that's installed here, we'll go to About. You'll see that we have a build number of 23A330 that was installed by default from the factory. So let's see if it's the same over here. And we have the exact same build on both, the 16 Pro and 16 Pro Max. So no change there. That's just something that we will need to update, again, with that latest update. So we have the 16 Pro Max, 17 Pro Max, and 17 Pro. Let's go ahead and start the benchmark. And when they're about halfway through, we'll actually take a look at the heat signatures. But I have noticed that just holding the back of the phones, the heat feels to be more dissipated across the back of the phone instead of focused in one area. But again, let's give it a moment. They are still processing a lot in the background, so we'll probably have lower scores than anticipated, but hopefully they'll be pretty decent overall. Now we're almost halfway through. Let's take a look at the front of the phones. And on the 17 Pro, you can see the heat is sort of spread out across everything. The 17 Pro Max, same thing, but the 16 Pro Max is focused in one area. Let's go ahead and flip these over and take a look at the back. Now on the 17 Pro, you'll see in the hottest area, we're at about 40 degrees Celsius or 40.4, but you'll see the heat is spread out a little bit more. It seems to be the hottest under the camera plateau at 41.4 on the 17 Pro Max, and then the 16 Pro Max, you'll see it's focusing heat at around 40 degrees Celsius, but just in one area. So instead of dissipating that heat, it's normal for it to heat up, but instead of dissipating it out, it's just focusing it right here and maybe having a hard time getting rid of that heat soaking the processor. So it looks like it's really pulling the heat away from these. Now let's see what we've got as far as benchmarks. We're almost complete here. I'm not sure they'll be great, but they should be higher than the 16 Pro Max as it is still processing a lot in the background. So again, let's give it a moment to finish here and see what we've got. Now, as I mentioned, we are processing a lot in the background, so that reflects a little bit poorly on the scores. So I have 3,193 for single core on the 17 Pro Max compared to 3,341 on the 16 Pro Max. We have 8,049 compared to 8,020. Now, what I've found is running Geekbench, I typically have to run this a couple times, and then it finds the highest number. So we'll check that a little bit in the weekend follow-up videos that we'll do. And of course, this will definitely bump up after it's done processing in the background, but the phones are so warm that it's probably needing to cool down a little bit and see what they're like after that. So it's going to take a little bit for that to happen though. Now, as far as the speakers go, I thought we'd take a listen to that. Maybe we'll compare the 16 Pro Max to the 17 Pro Max. So let's go ahead and take a look. While I was editing the video, I went back and ran Geekbench back to back to back a few different times, and you can see the history here on the 17 Pro and the 17 Pro Max. I had a high score of 3,582 for single core, 9,147 for multi-core. I have seen better scores online, but again, it could be processing a lot in the background. So overall, this is what I'm getting so far, but it seems inconsistent, but at least it's staying consistently high even while processing and then dissipating that heat. Also, one thing to note is I did turn off adaptive power on both of them just to make sure that that's not going to limit the battery at all. So you'll see if we go into power mode, I already turned that off, and that shouldn't have limited the battery. But again, this phone feels much warmer than the 16 Pro Max. So maybe it wasn't a completely fair test there, but even while it's warm and really processing, it's getting scores close to what the top scores are for the 16 Pro Max. Now, as far as the sound, let's listen to the 16 Pro Max speakers first. Now the 17 Pro Max. So side by side, the 17 Pro Max is 10 to 12 decibels louder, from around 80 average probably on the 16 Pro Max to about 90 average on the 17 Pro Max. Very impressive, much louder, and the bass seems a little bit more pronounced as well. Now this year we also have updated modems. We have a new 5G modem, at least in the 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max. It appears to be from Qualcomm with millimeter wave in the United States, as I mentioned before. But now we have a new Apple N1 modem for Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, and Thread. We also have Apple's second generation ultra-wideband chip. So all of those are included. Let's see if we notice any difference again with the 16 Pro Max. The 16 Pro Max will turn off cellular just to make sure we're using my Wi-Fi modem. And with the 16 Pro Max, I should have about 1,000 down by about 40 up. I have Wi-Fi 7, so you can see the speed here. We're at about 1,000. So we should have about the same speed on both, I would imagine. But 40 up is the limitation where I live. So give that just a moment. There, it completed. Now the upload, we're at about 36 megabits per second. So there's the 16 Pro Max. Let's try the 17 Pro Max. I can't imagine it would be much different, but supposedly the cellular reception is noticeably better. But let's give it a moment. And we're actually beating what we had on the 16 Pro Max. So we're over 1,100 megabits per second, and then upload. So definitely an improvement there. Now, I don't know if that's consistent over time, but that's great to see. Hopefully Apple's N1 modem turns out to be really great. The same is true with Bluetooth. We don't know how that will be, but we'll have to test that out. Here's the AirPods Pro 2, of course, connectivity-wise. Could vary depending on device, of course, but we'll have to test these out, see what it's like over time as well. Also, of course, we have to check out Wallpaper here. So if we go into our Wallpaper, let's see what we've got. We'll add new wallpaper, scroll down, and iOS 26 wallpaper and the new iPhone 17 wallpaper as well. So we have Cosmic Orange, we have the new Silver, Deep Blue, and that's it. So just those three colors this year, and you can see it sort of spells out Pro. So that's the new default wallpaper. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. I think it's a little bit too busy. So if we swipe home, you'll see it's a bit too busy, but the overall colors are nice. But again, it's a little bit too busy for me. I'll be choosing other wallpapers, and I'll link one in the description that I had on the 16 Pro Max. So just holding on to these, there's definitely a noticeable difference when just holding on to it. It feels a little bit more comfortable, maybe more like what we had with the iPhone 11 series, where it just curves around the back a little bit more. Like I mentioned before, the heat dissipation sort of spreads out. And of course, it's going to take some time to use these and see what they're like to see if they're worth recommending over the 16 Pro Max. I would imagine they will be with some of the improvements such as battery life. But again, we'll have to test that out and see what it's like. Let me know if there's anything specific you'd like in my review after I've used them for about a week or so, or anything else you haven't seen mentioned elsewhere. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Let me know which option you're choosing, whether that's the new Deep Blue or Cosmic Orange, or maybe the silver color as well. And if you'd like to see more, let me know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.